Well, that's enough about talking about a chaotic nation that's pursuing a nuclear weapon, Andy. Let's talk about a chaotic nation that already has one. Pakistan update now! And if there was any doubt, Andy, in Iran's mind as to whether or not they should push on and get a nuclear weapon, Pakistan is the perfect example for them. Because there is absolutely no way that the rest of the world would tolerate Pakistan's constant bullshit, or not even merely tolerate it, fund it, were it not for the basement full of bombs that they have somewhere. A nuclear weapon is basically a ticket into platinum membership of the Act Like a Dick with Impunity Club. And the membership benefits in that club are phenomenal, Andy. Whenever anyone questions your dickish behaviour, just flash up your membership card and watch them apologise, back away and write you a cheque. A nuclear weapon is the ultimate bargaining chip, the ultimate life insurance plan and the ultimate national status symbol. In fact, Andy, if you had a nuclear weapon, do you really think that the Times would be dropping the Bugle? You really think that this would be the last episode with them? That conversation would have been completely different. They'd have told us they were cutting us off. You'd have smiled, tapped and then gently stroked the nuclear warhead lying on your lap, and they'd have backed away and guaranteed us another 100 years. It's your fault, Andy. At no point over the last 177 episodes have you pursued that literal get-out-of-free technology. You shouldn't have been writing jokes. You should have been enriching uranium.
Well, I mean, I have been trying, John. It's just whenever I try and do it, I end up writing puns instead.
I've got some scuds in my garage you can borrow.
It's not enough. That's early 90s talk.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani has said that his parliament must choose, quote, between democracy and dictatorship in a vote of confidence in him that's happening on Monday. And I think the problem with that, John, is that most parliaments, when given that choice, would probably go for dictatorship if they thought they could get away with it. It's just so much easier to get things done and you don't have to worry about re-election. You can really see why so many politicians end up swinging that way towards the end of their careers.
Well, Pakistan has always prided itself as having the stability of a man carrying a tray of champagne flutes across a rope bridge during a tornado. But it's got wobbly even by its own jiggly standards recently. This week...
You've been spending too much time with Dolly Parton, John.
This week, the military in Pakistan publicly rebuked the Prime Minister, warning of serious ramifications with potentially grievous consequences after he criticised military leaders in a media interview. And the chilling part of this is that the Pakistan military tend not to issue empty threats when it comes to their own leaders. And right on cue, the Prime Minister left for Saudi Arabia, supposedly for a family wedding, but certainly a very convenient family wedding. And it might have been a very last-minute RSVP from the Pakistani Prime Minister. Sorry for the late reply, but I would absolutely love and badly need to attend your wedding this week. I wasn't sure I could make it, as things have been very busy here, but it turns out that a window's opened up of me desperately needing to get the out of this country. What a happy coincidence. Please let me come. Please let me come. I really need to come to this wedding. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you there if I don't get killed before then. Joke. Just kidding, not a joke. See you on the big day. I'll be the one surrounded by bodyguards. P.S. Please let me come to your wedding. Seriously.
Well, just hope he had a +1. Of course, the Pakistan military have not always been the most restrained military in terms of not seizing power in coups, historically. And I think running Pakistan can be safely described as a tough job, kind of up there with being Mugabe's international PR officer or being Indian cricket captain. I imagine the Pakistan military are kind of like a really high-maintenance but uncommunicative wife who has a track record of quickie divorces from her previous husbands, who are all now buried under a patio.
Oh, yeah. Pakistan has a long history of military coups. They stage coups like Roger Federer hits tennis balls, with a skill and instinct that borders on the routine. They love a coup, Andy. They put them on with the ceremony of royal weddings. And now the tanks roll ceremonially into the streets of Islamabad, and the Prime Minister comes out on the balcony to wave at the angry crowd, his single digits swaying majestically in the hot afternoon air, and yes, there it is. He's been taken from the building. The military's in charge. Inzamam, I will never get tired of seeing this. Just look at those uniforms. Utterly splendid. And up go the machine guns, unloaded now into the air, as is tradition. And the ceremony is complete. We'll see you all back here in 2 years to do it all again. Oh, Pippa.
Was that Inzamam ul Haq as the co-commentator?
It was, Andy. It was. He wasn't commentating. He was just sitting in his chair doing nothing.
Really? I thought I heard the munch of tooth on cream bun in the background. The no confidence vote in Prime Minister Gilani was triggered by the expiration of a Supreme Court deadline for the government to reopen political corruption cases. As the government had granted an amnesty for politicians in corruption cases. And when a government gives an amnesty for political corruption cases to politicians, that is pretty much as good as wearing an "I'm so guilty" T-shirt into Parliament.
In fact, one of the leading candidates to take over in Pakistan is Imran Khan, an ex-cricketer. And do you just inherently trust
not just an
cricketers?
ex-cricketer, John. He's one of the great legends of the game, John. Don't just describe him as an ex-cricketer.
But do you just inherently trust cricketers a bit more, Andy? Do you think, is there just a part of you which will overlook any potential corruption and just say, well, if you played cricket to test standard, then you should be able to run a country?
I mean, had you asked me that 2 years ago before the massive match-fixing scandal involving Pakistan, I might have said yes. But Imran, by all accounts, is completely untouched by the match-fixing scandal, and to be honest, I'd like to see... Imran was one of a wave of great all-rounders in world cricket in the late 70s and early 80s, and I'd really like to see them all taking power in their respective countries. I'd like Ian Botham to be King of England. I think Kapil Dev should be running India. And Richard Hadley should be taking over New Zealand and leading them to a great military victory over Australia.
Well, I do hope the 6 buglers that got those references enjoyed them.
There you
because
go.
the rest of us have had to sit through confusion.